is Arif Halaby on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.
All right. Hey, listen, part of the challenge in life, of course, is to make sure that you are planning for your future. And a big part of that plan, believe it or not, is to understand that it's never too late to start. You know, so many people wait. They wait to have children. They wait to start their career. They wait to go back to school. Well, some of you even wait, believe it or not, to start for your retirement savings. So today we're going to talk about some ways to kind of get that boost, get that little extra start. Make sure that you are not messing up when it comes to your retirement. 40s, 50s, is it too late? It actually isn't. You know, a great book that I've read many years ago said, if you have worked 20 years of your life and you are not able to stop working for money, then you have seriously mismanaged your money. Now think about that for a second. From 21 to 41, from 41 to 61, from 45 to 65, right? Meaning that you could actually get in and in a 20-year period of time, really get focused and set up so that you don't have to worry about working for money anymore. In fact, your money should be working for you. And that's what retirement's all about, because no longer are you going to work for a paycheck. And here's where the problem really cuts in. For a lot of folks, you know, they forget that they are saving for retirement. Well, Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour is what that's all about. Arif Halaby with Jeff Gerard. What does that mean when we say for retirement? Well, Jeff, everybody has to realize their money has a job to do.
That's right. And it makes sense to start saving as early as possible. But sometimes, you know, we realize things happen in life and people don't get a head start or a real serious start on their savings for retirement until their 40s or 50s. And a lot of times, believe it or not, it may have to do with their ability to earn a higher wage or what they think is a higher wage. You know, it's so funny and very interesting to me that, you know, it's always been, oh, you know, I make $2,000 a month. When I make $3,000 a month, that's when I'll start saving for retirement. And then you get to 3 and nothing changes. And you know what? It's $5,000. And we can kind of keep setting that benchmark higher and higher. But unless we actually take an active approach to paying ourselves first, living below our means, nothing ever really magical happens. It's up to you to save for retirement, to take those dollars out of the spending equation.
Yeah. And
there are so many simple ways to doing it. Notice I didn't say easy, but there are simple ways to doing that to where you can actually have some money left over for retirement.
Yeah, when we talk about retirement, people don't realize that the dollars have a job to do. And if you take money that's in your checking account and you want to put that for your child's college, it's not always the most efficient.
Correct.
If you take money from your retirement and you say, oh, those dollars, that's what I'm going to use to buy an RV. Or you know, I've seen this in folks. I love all of you. You're wonderful people. But I don't know where you get some of your financial logic from. Because here's where I'm bringing that up from. You say, I've been saving in my deferred comp at work for 20 years. I've been working for the city, the county, the state. And the purpose of that money is that when I retire, I'm going to use all of it for my daughter's college or for my son's college.
That's right.
You've got to be kidding, you guys. It's the wrong money. You're using 50% money to do that. By the time you pay penalties, taxes, fees, whatever, you're going to come out on the other side with about half. Why would you ever do that? Why would you use a hammer to do the job of a screwdriver? Now, look, it might work. You might take a screwdriver and pound in a nail. Is it efficient? No. Is it the way to make things happen in the right time frame?
No, and I would say that when we're talking about the use of each dollar, the job of each dollar, it's super important because a lot of this has hinged on the conversation with the IRS, right? When we put money away in a savings account or in our checking account, the government really doesn't have much say in that when we put it in or take it out. But when it comes to retirement accounts or college savings, anything like that, that's where the government gets involved because normally we're getting a tax break either up front or later, and in most cases it's up front. So when we take it out on the back end, it's got to be for the right job, the right purpose. If we don't, that's where we kind of get spanked and we pay penalties and we lose a lot of that power that the money once had while it was in that account.
When we come back, we're going to get into, is it too late in your 40s or 50s with little or no retirement savings? Can you make a difference? In fact, you can when we come right back. We'll cover that and a whole lot more. I'm Arif Halaby on Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. On your place for news, talk, and information. This is AM 1220 KHTS. Hey, welcome back to the show, Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. Hey, Arif Halaby, Jeff Gerard with your family's financial life. Getting started, is it a little late? You know, I love this $1 million number, Jeff. We see this a lot.
Yeah.
Where, well, you have to have $1 million to retire.
That's incredible.
I don't know if that's the number because everybody's different. I will tell you, in my experience in 19 and a half years of doing this, right, coming up on 20, because that 20 then sounds pretty cool.
It does.
You have to have the income.
That's right.
So many times we'll ask people in a group setting. I know we do. I speak in front of groups often, and I say, okay, sometimes I'll say, would you prefer to have $1 million in cash or $10,000 a month the rest of your life?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I think there's a line. If you're 30 years and younger, you think, give me $1 million.
$1 million all day, right?
I'm going to turn it.
I think even pushing 40, some people might take the $1 million.
I know for me, for many years of my life, I would have done that. I'd have said, just give me the $1 million. I'll turn it into $5 million by the next weekend.
Right.
But as we get older, and I think wiser and a little smarter, we start thinking, the freedom that comes without having to babysit your money.
That's right.
And pay for the fees to babysit your money, because that's what brokers do, right? Their job is not necessarily to make you money, it's to keep your money. And that's different, right? Different objections and different purposes and different ways to do things. If the job of a broker or a brokerage firm is to keep your money, then they will charge you fees no matter what happens to the market. But if their job is to make you money, then wouldn't they charge you a fee if they've made you money, right? They did their job. But if they lost your money, why do they still charge a fee? You wouldn't go to a restaurant, order a meal, and walk away before you ate it and go, oh, I can't wait to pay a fee for that. You might say, oh, that's a little weird. Why would I do that?
How about this? You go to a fine restaurant, you have a meal. If something's wrong with the food, they'll take it back, give you a new meal, and they don't even charge you most of the time. Think about that. That's good faith, huh?
Yeah, and you know what I love, which is even more, Jeff, that's a good point. People will get to the place where they go through and say, part of life is to say, I'm buying something and I'm receiving something. And when you start saving for retirement later in your life, you have less chances for a do-over, less opportunities to go, okay, oops, that didn't work out, let's back up and try again. When you go to a restaurant, I made this up the other day, I don't know, maybe I heard it somewhere subconsciously, but I thought this was perfect. If you go to a restaurant, and I've been to one of them, like this, where you're ordering your food and there aren't any prices on the menu.
Oh, scary.
Yeah, isn't that, that's the first thing we would say, is that's scary.
Yeah.
And why I say I've been to one like this is years ago, my dad had friends and we went to a restaurant in New York and a chance to go to I don't know, you wanted to order the chicken just because you figured chicken would be less money and somebody else was paying. One of the things that we do with our retirement accounts is you have no idea what you're spending. We just go in and we order it and we say, okay, send me the bill later.
Great point.
Or you go to buy a car at a car dealership. I'll use one more and then I'll figure. And you just say, here's my checkbook. Find out something that fits this budget. This is how much I have to spend. Go ahead.
Or here's the car I like. You know what? In 30 days, just send me the invoice. Whatever the car payment is, I'll take care of it.
Great point. We wouldn't do that. We all think that that's crazy. So in retirement, you have to be very deliberate when you're saving, especially if you're getting started in your 40s or your 50s. And today a lot of people are getting started even later, especially physicians and doctors that are with PhDs that are down the road of student loan recovery. So many of you think the government is supposed to give you a discount on student loans.
You say recovery like it's a disease or something.
Oh, my gosh.
But it almost feels like it, I bet. I mean, I've heard you say someone equated it in your conversations to having the house payment without the house.
Yeah, that's right.
And how do you get ahead when you have such a big nut to crack every month? Well, for a lot of folks, even high wage earners, I think one of your stories not too long ago, Arif, your experience was someone that makes, I don't know what it was. It was 5 figures a month in income. And, the first 8 or 10,000, or maybe the first 80% of that went to student loans.
That's right.
Because they had to pay tax first, pay their expenses for their business, and then they were left with a very small amount. And I think their staff made more money than they did.
That's exactly right. Yeah, the full-time staff, all of the full-time staff made more money than the physician because he still had almost $1 million in student loans because you have undergrad and grad degrees and you can't work, so you got to take out loans just to pay your bills and to pay your electric bill. So these kinds of things really start digging into your life. Let's say you wake up at 45 or 50 or even 55 years old. Do you still have time to start saving for retirement? The answer is yes. Start it this way. Find the free money.
That's right.
401ks, 403bs, there's some free money there sometimes.
All day long. Now, chances are you're in a position, if you're working for a company, whether it's a for-profit, a nonprofit, as a director, or some high-level employee, you're going to have some access to some retirement plans. Now, you have a couple different things working in your favor when you're, mainly when you're in your 50s, but even in your 40s, you still have one of the benefits here, is you probably have a matching program of some sort, which means this: if you put money in, your company has a formula that they've devised that says, when our employees put money into this account, we're going to match them. Kind of like when you were a kid and you said, okay, Dad, I want to buy XYZ, or Mom, I want to buy this. If I come up with 100, will you put in some money? And they'll say, okay, great, I'll match whatever you put in. They may match half of it or a percentage of it. That's kind of like what your employer does. They may say, it's a function of your income. We match the first 50% of 6%. You go, what? Look, just ask your human resources director or whomever is handling your retirement account there, or facilitating it rather. Ask them what you need to put in to get all of the match. And I suggest this because, look, you're getting started late in the game. It's going to be to your advantage later that you went without a little bit more and you put more in your account and get that extra match. So do everything you can, put all you can in to get that free money. That's the first thing. Now, the second thing is, if you're age 50 or older, you can put even more money than someone that's 49 or younger. And here's why. Because there's something called a catch-up provision. And it just means that you can put some extra money in. And now, let's say that there's a match up to a higher number for you. That might even be an exponential benefit for you.
One of the things that I want you to focus on is the free money. But the other part of it is, look at your tax bracket. For a lot of people today, you receive multiple write-offs. Maybe you have small children, or young children at least, that still qualify you. Maybe a business write-offs. Maybe you have a house mortgage or rental property. Things that give you write-offs today. You're checking with your CPA, right? You need to make sure you look at these numbers. Because your effective rate of taxes, so you might be in the marginal rate of 35% tax bracket, but your effective rate says your overall tax rate might be 12% or 15%. If that's the case, then you want to think of this. You need to go and say, am I able to save in things like a Roth, R-O-T-H, Roth 401k, my Roth IRA, and then later put money into other types of accounts. But if today you can receive the tax benefit and it's in your best interest, do it. But if not, you can say, well, I'm going to pay the taxes today because it's 10 or 12 or 15%. But in the future, you don't have any more write-offs. You don't have young children, house mortgage, rental property, whatever it is. You've gone through that process, and now, poof, here is a big chunk of 401k money. Oh, and the pension and the Social Security. And I love when people say, so does that mean that I don't pay taxes on my... Oh, yes, you do. Very, very few Americans, especially folks in Santa Clarita, the Antelope Valley, San Fernando Valley, you are going to be paying taxes most likely on your Social Security, at least on some part of it, because the system is not rigged for you to benefit. It's actually rigged to hurt your tax. I don't know if hurt, pay more in taxes, even though you've already paid taxes on the same money twice. It's kind of a little weird, but that's how they do it.
And it's crazy that it seems like the better you do, the more streams of income, the more income we make, the harder we get punished. And so what you have to do, and where Arif was going with this, when you're looking at, with your tax team, with your CPA, if you have a big bonus coming, we had a client recently that got a very substantial bonus. I mean, that's as large as some people's salaries. What do you do with that? Is that taxable? How does that affect me down the road? Do I withhold half of it, or do I have to park this to pay the IRS later because, my income was already X amount. Now that's an extra. And you start to do the math and you go, wow, was this really a reward? Or did you know what, boss, just go ahead and send it right to Uncle Sam because I'm not going to be able to spend this anyway.
You all know it. I've done it. When I used to work overtime at work, you would work overtime, you do the numbers, and you, oh my gosh, most of my money is going towards taxes when you work overtime. It almost doesn't make sense. You either have to do such an enormous amount or you have to just do nothing. And it's odd to me that they punish people. I was eating out last night, and our food server was a gentleman who I had seen at another restaurant here in town. In fact, I think 2 other restaurants. And I said, oh, yeah, I remember you were the food server over at this other place. He says, oh, yeah, I have a couple of jobs. And afterwards, the person that was with me said, people will go to and have multiple jobs as food servers. I think that's odd. I said, well, take a look. If you're an employer And you can only employ people up to 30 hours a week or 25 hours a week. Otherwise, you have to start paying benefits and sick time and vacation time and the Obamacare. What do employers do? They just say, listen, you're going to work 24. So they have multiple people working part-time, and they punish people who work full-time. So as an employer, you now have multiple part-time people instead of a few full-time people, which means you're going to have less opportunities for career growth, whatever the employer. You're going to have to go from job to job, so now you have travel time and gas and this whole environmental, oh my gosh. It's the same people, not usually. It is the same people who push for the environmental growth, and they don't realize that you're now going to have to drive from place to place. Somebody else is going to have to watch your children. You're not going to spend quality time with your wife or in yoga classes or husband or whatever it is that you do. And now people have 2 and 3 jobs, part-time jobs, so that employers who could barely survive before in this recession are now getting stuck. So your retirement is leaving the responsibility of the employer and becoming your responsibility. And instead of feeling, you have to do the math on this, because in your world, if you can start saving, I want the Roth IRA or the Roth 401k, ROTH, to be a huge part of that. When we come back, I'm going to explain a little bit about what that is, how it works, and what it can do for you, because the Roth accounts can really assist you later on in life. We'll come right back. Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour, Arif Halaby with Jeff Gerard on AM 1220 KHTS. We'll be right back.